Juhu is what the world calls a dungeon baby, an orphan born in the darkest depths of the labyrinth and kept alive on the blood of monsters. While other kids were learning to walk, he was learning how to survive in the abyss. The media loves to glamorize these survivors, painting them as natural-born hunters destined for unimaginable greatness and fame. But the reality is far more brutal, as most dungeon babies are cursed with an unnatural, maddening obsession to return to the deadly caves. Juhu, however, flips the script entirely. He hates the labyrinth with every fiber of his being and curses the fact that he ever had to step foot inside it, wanting absolutely nothing to do with the monsters or the twisted magic coursing through his veins. All he cares about is the fiercely loving, normal family that took him in when he had nothing. Right now, his adopted sister Hyunji is getting married, and he is determined to hand her a massive envelope of cash to ensure her new life starts perfectly. To pull off this massive payout, Juhu bites the bullet and takes a highly lucrative job guiding a shady expedition team into the depths. The promised money is astronomical, enough to secure his family's future, but the risks are a total nightmare. He makes it crystal clear to his employers from the start that he is strictly there to navigate the treacherous paths, not to act as a meat shield. He insists on his payment, knowing that in this business contracts mean absolutely nothing once the beasts catch your scent. Back home, his father is absolutely furious about this dangerous gig. The old man fiercely believes that risking his life just to fund a wedding is a massive insult to the parents who raised him, begging Juhu to just stay safe. But Juhu was already inside the labyrinth, where the rules of survival are brutally simple and incredibly unforgiving. If an expedition team cannot push through to the second-floor entrance in record time, the darkness itself starts hunting them down. Down here, the most terrifying threats do not rely on sight, but on scent and sound. A single echoing gunshot or a fresh drop of blood can draw an entire horde of ravenous predators to their location in a matter of seconds. Unfortunately, Juhu is stuck guiding a greedy, glowing-eyed director who cares far more about filming a viral, bloody fight than keeping his own crew alive. The lunatic literally forces the team to hold their ground in a deadly zone just to capture exclusive footage. To make matters worse, there is a naive rookie girl on the team who constantly questions Juhu's cold, calculated survival tactics. She tearfully accuses him of letting people die, completely misunderstanding that his harsh choices are the only reason she is still breathing. The stakes could not be higher, because if Juhu dies in this lightless hellhole, his family loses everything and his sister's future is ruined. The worst betrayal always comes from the people closest to you, and the director's reckless filming finally triggers a catastrophic ambush. A deafening roar shakes the cavern as a monstrous beast crashes through the darkness, proving that their location was compromised from the very beginning. Trapped and out of options, Juhu realizes that running is no longer on the table. Dropping his innocent porter act, he glares down the massive opponent with eyes burning like fire. He unleashes a devastating, crackling sweep attack, ready to remind everyone exactly why a dungeon baby is the most dangerous thing in the labyrinth. But to understand exactly what makes a dungeon baby so terrifying, we have to look back at where he started. Decades ago, the brutal war with the Labyrinth finally ended in a massive victory for humanity. Following their crushing defeat, the tens of thousands of Labyrinth masters were forced to release their prisoners of war back to the surface. But amongst the survivors were infants born in the pitch-black depths. With their mothers dead, these orphans survived the only way they could by drinking monster milk. Raised in the darkest environment imaginable, these kids mutated. They developed otherworldly powers that made them far too dangerous to be considered human. Fast forward to a few years ago, and a greedy film crew decides to venture into the Geyser Labyrinth, hoping to strike it rich by recording the unexplored second floor. They want to be the first millionaires to broadcast the deep zones, but they need an experienced guide to get them there safely. So they hire a dungeon baby guy, Jinwoo. But unlike the other kids who are obsessed with the labyrinth, Jinwoo actively avoids it. Because his level has never been revealed, the crew assumes he's just incredibly weak, hiring heavily armed guards just in case. But Jinwoo is entirely focused on survival, warning the team that they need to rush straight to the second-floor entrance before resting. He practically begs the guards to keep their guns holstered even if they spot beasts, knowing that loud noises are a death sentence here. But the arrogant mercenaries just laugh in his face, mocking him for being a coward. While they waste time joking around, the real danger creeps up on them. An injured underbeast emerges from the shadows of the first floor. Jinwoo immediately orders the crew to retreat before the scent of the creature's blood attracts something worse. But the traitor-happy guards see this as a chance to prove their worth, completely ignoring Jinwoo's desperate screams to hold their fire. The captain orders his men to shoot, and the cavern erupts in deafening gunfire as they tear the beast to shreds. The monster collapses under the hail of bullets and the guards burst into hysterical laughter, thrilled by their own power. They brag about how easy the labyrinth is, convinced that these legendary beasts die just like any normal animal on Earth. But Jinwoo isn't laughing. He orders the crew to drop all their heavy gear and run for the exit immediately. The guards think he's lost his mind, but Jinwoo knows the horrible truth. The deafening gunshots have just summoned an apex predator, and it's rushing straight toward them. The armed guards are buzzing with greed. Having just taken down a beast with a few shots, they calculate that farming these monsters will net them over 10 million won each. But Jinwoo refuses to take the bait. He calmly tells the group that since he and Yoonju are unarmed, they will hang back, prompting the greedy guards to warn them not to beg for a cut later. As the leader rallies his men deeper into the dark passage, Jinwoo turns to Yoonju with an eerie intensity in his eyes, ordering her to follow him so they can keep filming. Yoonju hesitates for a second, debating their next move, before sprinting after Jinwoo into the shadows. When she catches up, she is furious. She yells that their footage is ruined and demands to know why Jinwoo is suddenly abandoning the armed escorts. Staring at his grim expression, Yoonju starts to wonder if the rumors are true. She questions if, despite being a dungeon baby, Jinwoo avoids the labyrinth simply because he is a coward. She desperately begs him to go back, reminding him that they spent a fortune to get inside and will be completely bankrupt if they do not capture a fight on camera. Before Jinwoo can answer, a terrifying shift in the atmosphere descends upon the cavern. Brutal sounds of impact and desperate screams ring out from the direction the guards just took, leaving Yoonju frozen in absolute terror. Jinwoo immediately orders her to stay quiet and keep moving. He reveals the grim truth. The gunshots did not just kill a monster, they rang the dinner bell for every predator in the area. Horrified, Yoonju accuses him of letting the men die, but Jinwoo coldly explains that the guards were already soaked in monster blood, and running with them would have been a guaranteed death sentence. Through the lens of her camera, Yoonju watches the gruesome reality unfold as the beasts tear into the arrogant guards. The viewfinder captures a terrifying monster's maw snapping shut, completely engulfing a screaming man's hand in a spray of blood. The brutal massacre spills over toward Jinwoo and Yoonju, as another guard is dragged screaming into the darkness right in front of him. Yoonju recognizes the horrifying creatures as wolf monkeys, completely baffled as to why these dangerous beasts are hunting on the very first floor. Realizing a massive pack has already surrounded them, the terrifying truth dawns on the duo. The monsters knew exactly where they were the whole time. As a massive beast roars and lunges straight for them, Jinwoo finally stops running. His eyes crackle with raw, surging energy. Stepping directly into the path of the towering ape, Jinwoo locks onto his target, activating his weakness detection to turn the tables on the deadly predator. The monstrous ape roars in absolute fury, but Jinwoo doesn't hesitate for a second, unleashing a sweeping counterattack to hold the line. Closing the distance in a flash, our hero swings his curved blade, landing a devastating strike that sends the massive beast crashing backward. But the monster immediately pivots and looms over a terrified Yoonju, forcing Jinwoo to lunge back into the fray to intercept the blow. Glaring down the threat, Jinwoo scoops up his injured companion and warns her to brace herself. He tells her he's about to sprint at full dungeon baby speed, and a few broken ribs are a price she'll just have to deal with. They barely outpace the colossal Magma 200 beast as it violently tears the landscape apart right behind them, dragging themselves into a dark, rocky alcove. An exhausted Jinwoo notes they managed to escape the immediate blast, but they need to keep moving before the horde catches up. Breaking down in tears, Yoonju demands to know why he let the rest of their party die, accusing him of hiding his true strength while pretending to fight with a dull knife. Jinwoo shuts her down completely, reminding her that he was hired strictly as a guide, not a guard, and the lethal depths of Geyser are not something he can easily fight through. He angrily points out that she hired arrogant amateurs who ignored every single warning he gave, leading them straight into the beast's territory in the first place. When a heartbroken Yoonju asks why he even bothered saving her, Jinwoo gives the most practical answer possible. If she dies, he doesn't get paid. He promises to keep her alive purely to collect his paycheck. Standing authoritatively over her amidst the glowing embers, he spots an ominous emblem carved into the ancient stone, a snake, coiled around a sword. Jinwoo realizes his blind sprint brought them straight into a labyrinth, and he urgently warns Yoonju that they need to evacuate the area immediately. But before they can take another step, a catastrophic surge of energy erupts from the earth, shattering the ground beneath them and sending them plummeting into the void. Jinwoo wakes up later in the dark, shattered ruins, groaning in pain as he realizes his left arm is completely broken, though he admits it could have been much worse. He scans the debris for his client, but quickly concludes Yoonju couldn't have survived a fall from that height, meaning his massive payout is gone and he is totally screwed. However, money is the least of his problems right now. He realizes he has fallen straight into the dead center of the labyrinth. Yet strangely, the area is completely devoid of life. He wonders if the place is abandoned, until a horrific grinding sound echoes from above, and a massive glowing-eyed snake creature awakens to ambush him. Jinwoo unleashes a desperate attack with a dark energy weapon, but the giant serpent is simply too fast. The monstrous creature lunges forward, its massive jaws snapping shut as it seizes him. A system prompt flashes, revealing the beast is a snake's releaser with a massive power level of 18,230. Jinwoo curses his luck, realizing the sheer absurdity of the situation. Refusing to give up, he declares he cannot die in this ominous underground, naying someone must inherit its power. But his strength fails him, and he collapses into the darkness, his mind fading toward death. Later, Jinwoo jolts awake in the desolate cavern, completely bewildered. He remembers the deadly venom spreading through his veins, yet his broken arm is completely fine. Clenching his fist, he realizes his entire body has been perfectly healed. Looking around the purple-hued cavern, he deduces they were teleported somewhere near the first-floor entrance. Spotting a figure on the ground, he rushes over and frantically calls out to Yoonju. She is still breathing, but her injuries remain critical. Knowing there was no first aid kit around, Jinwoo realizes some unknown force must have healed him. He violently coughs up black blood, pushing through his own lingering pain to carry her before it is too late. He urges Yoonju to hold on just a little longer. Carrying her through the dark, rocky terrain, he pushes toward the exit. Back in the surface world, Jinwoo returns home and catches the morning news. The broadcast reports the deadly beast ambush, confirming that 7 of the 9 expedition members died and that Yoonju was saved by a dungeon baby named Kim Jinwoo. He has just relieved his camcorder footage proved the guards ignored his warnings, saving him from a massive fine. Grabbing another envelope of cash, he decides to quickly give the rest of his payment to his sister, Hyunji. He finds her in her room and notices she has been crying. Assuming she is just overwhelmed with joy over the large sum of money he left earlier, he smiles. Handing her the new envelope for her wedding, he tells her not to ask how he got it. But the touching moment is shattered when their furious father suddenly demands to know what is going on. Jinwoo tries to play it cool, but his father reveals he abandoned work and rushed home after hearing his son risked his life in the dungeon. He angrily orders Yoonju to give the bloody money back to her brother. Shocked, Jinwoo tries to claim he earned the cash working at a convenience store, but his father cuts him off. Furious that Jinwoo thought his parents were so useless, he had to risk his own life to pay for his sister's wedding. Even though they are not related by blood, his father refuses to be underestimated or lied to. Realizing he is caught, Jinwoo lowers his head and apologizes, gripping the envelope in shame. Back home, the tension boils over as Jinwoo's adoptive father scolds Hyunji for being completely selfish with the family's money. Jinwoo steps in to defend his sister, admitting he freely gave her the cash for her upcoming wedding, but his father is heartbroken. He reminds Jinwoo that Hyunji would never accept that money if she knew he earned it by risking his life in the deadly dungeons. His father begs him to stay safe and remember he's a true part of their family, leaving Jinwoo to quietly reflect on just how incredibly lucky he is. Adopting a dungeon baby like him usually comes with a massive government payout, leading to countless tragic stories of abuse and murder. But Jinwoo actually found a real, loving home. Alone in his room, he inspects a mysterious snake tattoo on his arm that he's had for as long as he can remember, completely unaware of the spectral serpent materializing right behind him. A green, game-like status window suddenly pops up on his laptop screen, revealing that the abandoned Rank 1 Naga's Labyrinth has somehow chosen him as its master. The system warns that he's currently too underqualified to use its facilities, but the moment he touches the strange portal interface on his screen, a monstrous snake smashes straight through the glass. Jinwoo recoils in absolute shock as his bedroom shatters into abstract fragments, dropping him onto cracked, purple ground. He recognizes the dark, jagged landscape and the ominous thorny serpent symbol from his previous deadly encounter, though the atmosphere feels dangerously different this time. Before he can even process the shift, the same terrifying beast from the cavern attacks, moving so fast his eyes can barely track its approach. Knowing a single mistake means death, Jinwoo unleashes his full force right out of the gate, his eyes glowing with power as he collides with the monstrous figure in a brutal struggle. He manages to push the beast back, taunting it for trying the same trick twice, but he quickly realizes he desperately needs a real weapon if he wants to pierce its thick armor. Suddenly, a towering armored figure interrupts the fight to declare an ancient prophecy, proclaiming Jinwoo as the releaser of 18,230 snakes, fated to inherit the underground. The entity scoffs that Jinwoo is far too small and inferior to bear the crown, but since time is running out, it accepts him as the glorious Naga's new king before fading into the starry darkness. Jinwoo screams after the vanishing shadow, furious that he's being dragged into this nightmare when he only entered a labyrinth once just to pay for Yoonji's wedding. Cursing his luck and wishing he had listened to his parents' warnings, he turns toward a massive, shadowy structure as a sudden rustling catches his attention. Out of nowhere, he hears Hyunji's voice echoing from a shattered rift in the void, making him realize the broken portal he fell through is still transmitting sound perfectly from his bedroom. Jinwoo snaps back to reality. He checks himself over, confused. His body felt like it was tearing apart, but there isn't a single scratch on him. Before he can process it, his sister Hyunji peeks in, wondering why he's sweating buckets and making weird noises. Caught off guard, Jinwoo scrambles for an excuse, claiming he was just reacting to a gaming stream. Hyunji teases her normally uptight brother for finally getting a hobby, but Jinwoo gets defensive about his childhood habits. In reality, his mind is elsewhere. The quiet of the real world feels suffocating now, and he realizes this unfamiliar peace is exactly why dungeon babies are always pulled back to the labyrinth. Sensing his weird mood, Hyunji apologizes, blaming herself for making him go back to that awful place. Jinwoo quickly reassures her that everything is fine, but tells her to wait outside because he left his coat behind. But it's not the coat he cares about. It's what was in it. He suddenly remembers a horned creature snooping around his gear, and a horrifying realization hits him. The money. He screams out in pure panic over Hyunji's cash, startling his sister through the door. He immediately plays it off, shouting that he's just super immersed in his new game, leaving Hyunji completely shocked to see her brother acting so passionate for once. The second she's gone, Jinwoo locks the door, apologizes to his sister under his breath, and dives straight back into the fractured ruins of the labyrinth. He scales the jagged purple cliffs and frantically tears through his abandoned gear. Everything is perfectly intact except for Hyunji's cash. Right on cue, a green snake slithers up with a system message. An imp stole his money while he was gone, and he has to fully synchronize with the labyrinth to track it down. Jinwoo absolutely loses it, screaming at the system for letting a monster steal completely useless pieces of paper. Defeated, our hero slumps into the labyrinth's massive throne, crushed that all his hard work just went up in smoke. But then, a blue orb in his hand begins to rumble. The system UI flashes again, asking if he wants to proceed with the Naga's Labyrinth synchronization to unlock the map, and realizing this marble works just like his tattoo, Jinwoo prepares to do whatever it takes to get that cash back. Jinwoo agrees to the synchronization just to track down his stolen cash. He briefly considers walking away so he doesn't become another dungeon baby trapped in the system, but his empty wallet makes the choice for him. He hits accept, expecting a gate to just pop open, but instead he's left waiting. Annoyed by the delay, he figures digging through the dirt would be a faster way to hunt down the thief. Suddenly, the system confirms his qualifications as the Naga King. The Naga's Labyrinth officially registers Jinwoo as its master. A booming voice echoes in his head as the entire labyrinth begins to violently reorganize itself around his synchronized data. The ground shatters and massive structures collapse in a chaotic vision of his new domain taking shape. When the dust settles, the synchronization is complete. Jinwoo stands at the foot of a grand staircase, admitting the place looks slightly better, even if it keeps its creepy vibe. Right on cue, a small horn-damned peeks out from behind the dark archway. Jinwoo snaps his attention toward it, electric energy crackling around him. The creature freezes in shock. A normal person might have missed it, but Jinwoo's senses are way too sharp for a cheap stealth trick. He lunges forward, and the imp screams in absolute terror as it realizes it just walked right into a death trap. Jinwoo grabs the screaming monster by the face, utterly amazed that the little thief actually dared to come back. He demands his money back immediately, threatening to crush its skull. But the frantic imp reveals it doesn't even have the cash anymore. Furious, Jinwoo screams about how important that money was while the imp desperately shoves a glowing red object into his hands. At first, our hero rejects the junk, but then he gets a good look at the jewel and completely freezes. It's a down gem and incredibly rare treasure that can only be found deep within Geyser. To give you an idea of how crazy this is, down gems are incredibly rare jewels found only in Geyser, usually requiring a player to risk their life against deep floor beasts. Because of this, a tiny piece is worth millions, and a thumb-sized one can fetch tens of millions of won. And Jinwoo happens to be holding 2 of them. After wiping out the monsters in the dark abyss, he inspects the glowing red and blue stones in absolute disbelief. He had to tear through screaming monsters and giant beasts just to rip these prizes from the depths of the dungeon. But despite the hell he just went through, our hero casually brushes off the victory, acting completely indifferent to the fact that he's holding a literal fortune. But his luck runs out fast when the Labyrinth system forcibly absorbs the blue gem. A notification cheerfully announces that it sacrificed his middle-range jewel to restore the dungeon's durability and trigger an upgrade. Furious, Jinwoo demands to know who gave the system permission to burn his money and tries to smash the prompt, but the deed is done. The system sets a 24-hour countdown for the restoration, leaving him to mourn the loss of a gem that could have bought him a brand new car. Fast forward 4 days, and despite all the family drama, Yeonju's wedding goes off without a hitch thanks to her generous in-laws. Jinwoo manages to sell his remaining red gem for a solid 18 million won, planning to slip the cash directly to his sister so their dad doesn't find out. Still, as he watches the final seconds of the Labyrinth's upgrade timer tick down, he bitterly calculates that he would have had 36 million if his own dungeon hadn't robbed him blind. Once the timer hits 0, he opens the gate and steps back into the fractured space. The system confirms the Labyrinth has officially reached rank 2, unlocking new facilities like the Naga nest. But there's a massive catch: the upgrade pulse just alerted every nearby beast, and his defenses are currently sitting at 0. Confused by the new facility's name, Jinwoo peers into the swirling dark portal of the Naga nest, only to gasp in shock at whatever is waiting for him inside. Jinwoo steps into the newly revealed chamber, wondering if this is the Naga nest he unlocked. But instead of a slimy reptile den, it's a vast bone-dry cavern. Suddenly a monstrous shape lunges from the shadows. Jinwoo braces for a deadly fight, shocked that a dungeon beast could ambush him in his own territory. But the system chimes in, announcing the arrival of 6 rank 1 Naga workers. Instead of terrifying monsters, Jinwoo finds himself staring at a group of adorable, stout little reptiles giggling at him. They eagerly await their new master's orders. Having worked as a lowly excavator himself, Jinwoo knows exactly how to put bottom-tier laborers to use. He assigns 3 of them as scouts to map out the Geyser Labyrinth and locate resources. Since he doesn't have any guards to protect them, he orders them to avoid fights and prioritize their own survival. The remaining 3 are handed pickaxes and told to dig out a storage room. He honestly doesn't expect much from them, figuring their short, stubby bodies make them perfect prey in a place like this. But these little guys flip the script. In under an hour, they completely hollow out the rock and successfully build a standard 1x1 storage facility. Just then, an alert pops up saying only a part of the scout team is returned. Jinwoo panics when a lone worker approaches, cursing himself for sending them out to die since worker units are a permanent loss. But the little reptile waves its arms frantically, explaining that the others are totally fine and just needed to drop off some loot. Touched that their master actually worried about them, the workers' morale and efficiency instantly skyrocket. The scout hands Jinwoo a rolled-up scroll which immediately updates his holographic labyrinth map. The interface warns him that his owner's chamber has dangerously low durability and 0 military defense, but at least he won't have to map the place blindly. Scanning the nearby resources, Jinwoo is startled by a loud crash as the rest of the scouts dump a massive pile of spoils at his feet. He asks if they just grabbed every random thing they could carry, honestly unsure if he should praise them. But as he sifts through the garbage, his eyes widen when he spots a down gem. He practically shakes the little worker, demanding to know if there are more out there. When the scout confirms it, Jinwoo orders them to rally the whole team and harvest every single gem so he can get them appraised for cash. He turns to rush out of the ancient ruins but immediately freezes in his tracks. If he leaves to cash in now, his defenseless labyrinth and his loyal new workers could be slaughtered the moment an enemy attacks. Jinwoo looks down at the terrified little workers and finally accepts his new reality. Approaching the labyrinth's altar, he sacrifices his hard-earned loot, 1 low rank and 2 lowest rank down gems, converting them straight into labyrinth energy. He realizes he just gambled tens of millions of won on a mere possibility. But he can't help it. After 5 years of trying to live a normal, safe life above ground, he finally understands why dungeon babies throw their lives away in the darkness. The peaceful world was just suffocating boredom. Now as the new master, he hears the ancient echoes of the Naga's king, a pledge to bring absolute glory to the entire geyser. Checking his options, Jinwoo sees he can summon rank 1 Naga soldiers for combat or Naga maids for intelligence. But with a strict maintenance fee draining his gems every month, he has to spend wisely. He decides to start small, spending 1 energy point to summon a single Naga soldier. A massive, heavily muscled reptilian beast materializes from the shadows. Jinwoo is instantly impressed, noting the creature has the raw physique to survive all the way down to the 5th floor. He wastes no time, ordering his new guard to defend the storage gate alongside the workers. Next, he spends 2 energy points on a Naga maid. But the system suddenly alerts him that he just hit the jackpot, triggering the incredibly rare Mystery of Geyser to summon a heroic rank unit. A blinding, overwhelming light floods the shattered room, revealing a figure draped in elaborate blue armor. This is Dominique, a heroic Naga maid and a fiercely loyal advisor. Before Jinwoo can even process her arrival, a telepathic voice echoes in his head, calling him Master. She eagerly begs for her first command, leaving Jinwoo completely stunned that his new summon can actually hold a conversation. Jinwoo processes his situation, realizing that this grand labyrinth is real and his tutorial isn't even over yet. Dominique pulls up a holographic map, asking to explain the layout as they walk so Jinwoo can see the territory for himself. They arrive at a stalactite cave where Dominique points out a weak wall they can break to access a valuable resource lode. She explains they can harvest down gems from resilient geyser plants, and they decide to claim this highly defensible cave as their central base. Jinwoo spots a dangerous mark on the map, which Dominique reveals is wild beast territory that they can farm to cover their maintenance costs. Jinwoo decides to nickname his advisor Dominic for short, genuinely amazed that a Naga maid can communicate and strategize so fluently. He warns her that he'll be spending most of his time in the above world, but Dominic completely understands his dual life. Still, she urges him to upgrade the labyrinth and spawn more units immediately, because without a core, they have no swarm to protect them from invaders. Upgrading requires consuming down gems, a task only the master can perform. Jinwoo then asks a heavy question. What happens if he fails to meet her standards? Dominic assures him that while Nagas might rebel, beasts cannot steal the labyrinth, and only a chosen owner can hold the throne. Satisfied with her answer, Jinwoo accepts the weight of his new title. He cuts the small talk, declaring he will do his absolute best and looking forward to their partnership. Back in the real world, Jinwoo takes his remaining gems to a local broker. The old man is shocked, explaining that 8th floor wolf monkeys have overrun the 1st floor, drawing up the down gem supply for 5 years. The broker begs for an exclusive contract. Jinwoo agrees but demands steady intel on the labyrinth in exchange for the stones. Eager to keep his new supplier, the broker pitches a massive job opportunity, hunting hell spiders. These deep floor beasts are highly dangerous, but every single one drops a down gem. Hearing the job is at the underground Paju gate, Jinwoo instantly refuses. But when the broker tries to guilt-trip him by bringing up his struggling family, Jinwoo snaps, shooting him a glare so terrifying it freezes the old man in his tracks. Jinwoo's mind flashes back to a tense memory, confronting a shady broker who dug a little too deep into his background. The old man stammers out an apology, complaining that dealing with superhuman dungeon babies is a nightmare and that he only snooped to ensure the safety of Jinwoo's valuable items. The broker admits the loot is suspiciously high quality, but notes it is hard to trust mercenaries who have lived harsh, violent lives and have nothing left to lose. But the moment the old man tries to use Jinwoo's family as leverage, our hero flips the script, coldly warning the broker that he will find out exactly how psychotic a dungeon baby can get if his family is touched. Terrified, the broker promises it will never happen again, and Jinwoo simply demands the gem money be wired to his account before walking out. The memory suddenly warps into a full-blown nightmare, echoing with the screams of terrified children running from a swarm of hell spiders. He relives the agonizing cries of workers who spent their entire lives digging for Duke Geyser's labyrinth, only to be slaughtered by deep-floor beasts while a desperate woman stands her ground to protect a fallen comrade. Just as a monstrous entity with glowing red eyes lunges from the dark, Jinwoo snaps awake to the sound of his loyal Naga mate, Dominique, calling out to him. Seeing him gasping for air, Dominique asks if he is alright, but Jinwoo brushes it off as just a bad dream about the past. Changing the subject, Jinwoo chuckles at his newest, summons a group of derpy-looking reptilian creatures, admitting to Dominique that their unintimidating appearance actually helps calm his nerves. But the relief is short-lived as Dominique warns him that while the hell spiders are currently too far away, other beasts from the deeper floors could easily wander up to their level. She then checks the interface, revealing that their labyrinth's 3rd rank's upgrade is only 3 seconds away from completion, leaving Jinwoo stunned by their rapid progress. The system confirms the upgrade, unlocking new construction zones, adding 6 rank 1 Naga workers and spawning something massive. A massive glowing orb appears before them, the Labyrinth core. Dominique explains that while its destruction would disable the entire labyrinth, defending it ensures that even a ruined base can be fully recovered. This newfound power instantly draws attention, as the core's activation alerts distant beasts, triggering a system warning that a swarm of 20 horned rats is charging straight for them with exactly 1 hour until impact. Dominique frantically warns Jinwoo that a single Naga soldier won't be enough to defend against the incoming attack. Hearing that a swarm of horned rats is approaching, Jinwoo immediately decides to summon more troops. He checks his labyrinth's options, finding units like Naga archers, warriors, mages, and priests. But the energy costs are way higher than he expected, and he only has 21 gem energy to spare. With exactly 20 horned rats on the way, Jinwoo prepares to dump all his resources into basic soldiers. But Dominique stops him, revealing that a single Naga soldier can easily take down 4 horned rats alone. She breaks down the power scaling. A warrior or priest equals 2 soldiers, an archer equals 3, and a mage matches 5. However, she warns that most of these advanced units are incredibly weak to melee attacks. Relieved to have such a knowledgeable advisor, Jinwoo finalizes his strategy. He spends his energy to summon 1 Naga soldier and 2 Naga warriors. He unleashes his power, and the dark cavern is instantly illuminated by a massive summoning glyph. 2 heavily armored Naga warriors and a fierce Naga soldier materialize in the gloom. Jinwoo is thrilled, realizing this kind of firepower might even let him take on stronger beasts in the future. But his excitement fades when he notices his mining crew looking distressed. He asks Dominique what's wrong with one of the smaller, sluggish creatures. She explains that Naga workers are actually mutations born from high-level Nagas. The little guy is essentially a tragic subspecies, a shadow of what it could have been. Even though the tiny worker lacks willpower and moves sluggishly, its raw strength keeps its mining speed on par with the rest. Dominique offers to beat some discipline into it, but Jinwoo immediately shuts that down. Instead, he orders all the workers to gather up, announcing that they're going on a field trip. Since Nagas value honor above all else, Jinwoo refuses to make his workers hide during the labyrinth's very first battle. He promises to protect them with his life. Pondering what kind of weapon fits a brave Naga warrior, he prepares to arm his terrified workers. He steps up to the massive, shadowy figures. He hands the tiny worker a simple wooden club, calling it a small but grand weapon. It's a calculated move to build their loyalty, and he flashes a sinister grin. Jinwoo orders his entire motley crew forward into the dark. He plans to make these invading rats deeply regret walking into a snake's maw. Meanwhile, a loud rumble echoes through the tunnels as the horned rats finally breach the hidden cave. Seeing only mining workers, the invaders mock the new labyrinth owner for being too stupid to build an army. Their leader, Tretch, boasts about his massive horns, claiming that bigger horns mean a bigger brain. He orders his swarm to slaughter the snakes and feast on their remains. Tretch declares that they will never run away again. Today, they stop being prey, destroy the labyrinth, and finally become the apex predators. The horned rats launch a frantic assault, screaming for the utter extinction of their enemies. Spotting a baby Naga in the shadows, the terrified rodents immediately order its execution, but they quickly realize they have bitten off more than they can chew. Jinwoo's towering Naga forces loom from the darkness, and the rats freeze in pure terror at the sight of the massive reptiles. Jinwoo steps into the fray, fiercely demanding the enemy prove their worth, while his monstrous guardians prepare to leave absolutely no survivors. Panic sets in as the rats realize they have walked straight into a deadly trap, getting violently slaughtered by the labyrinth's defenses. These creatures are fighting out of sheer desperation. Not long ago, a mysterious hooded figure confronted Tretch, mocking the rat for spending his whole life digging just to avoid getting eaten by the labyrinth's massive owners. The stranger called him a coward, threatening to teach a different rat how to seize real power. That caught Tretch's attention. The hooded figure planted a dangerous idea in his head, suggesting that Tretch himself could become the true owner of the labyrinth. Back in the present chaos, the rats are getting wiped out, but they spot a glowing blue marble that radiates immense power. The desperate horde begs Tretch to swallow it so he can finally protect them, and their leader makes a mad dash for the prize. Tretch is completely fed up with his kind being treated as disposable prey. Refusing to lower his head while his people are eaten for fun, he lunges for the marble, desperate to consume it and flip the script. Dominique screams out for her master as Jinwoo watches the chaotic struggle unfold. The sheer desperation of the cavern leader catches everyone off guard. Refusing to let the rat power up, Jinwoo casually borrows a spear from one of his warriors. Meanwhile, Tretch screams that he will finally get his revenge on the labyrinth owners. Bodies plummet, and explosions rock the cavern as the battle reaches a boiling point. But amidst the chaos, a disastrous alert drops, revealing that the labyrinth's core altar is under attack, and its durability has plummeted to 274 out of 500. Jinwoo reacts in disbelief as the smoke clears, revealing the enemy leader coughing heavily amidst the rubble. The horned rat cries out for the freedom of its brothers, having desperately tried to break the labyrinth's core right away. Dominique notices the creature's frantic attempt, wondering if it was actually a threat to their survival. Jinwoo points out that a horned rat's teeth couldn't even dent the core, and the enemy leader realizes it sacrificed its comrades for absolutely nothing. When Jinwoo tries to return his borrowed weapon, Dominique insists he keep it. especially since the remaining enemies have completely lost their fighting spirit. Nagas are baffled by how weak the invaders are, noting they only had numbers but were barely stronger than basic Naga workers. Jinwoo is disgusted to learn these rats were captured and forced into labyrinth work, reminding him of the exploited dungeon babies from the Great War. But he is also amazed by his own troops, as the Nagas prove to be incredibly strong, moving their massive bodies without any wind-up. Thanks to their long tails, their center of balance is perfect, making them lethal and agile before Dominique clears her throat to snap him out of his thoughts. Meanwhile, deep in the geyser, two shadowy figures observe the Naga Labyrinth's power level from afar. The enemy commander notes that Jinwoo only has one heroic level troop and four normal ones, assuming he is an ignorant owner who panicked during the invasion. A massive purple monster scolds the hooded figure for sending 20 workers to check such a weak force, telling him to just capture more rats to replace the dead. The monster then asks about a mercenary handling a blood subjugation outside, questioning why an entire war is being left to a hired gun. The hooded figure reveals the mercenary claims to be a dragon's descendant, and even with stale blood, they can easily crush a weak labyrinth. Back in the labyrinth, a victory screen confirms Jinwoo's win against Tretch, officially granting him the beginner commander title. Dominique excitedly congratulates him, but Jinwoo is dead serious, realizing that if those intruders hadn't been blindly focused on the core, she or the workers could have been killed. He is relieved their first opponents were weak, but warns that in the geyser, getting wiped out is a constant threat, making defenses an absolute priority. Stepping up, Jinwoo rallies his Naga warriors, warning them not to get drunk on a victory over weaklings because only the strong survive here. He declares that a new chapter in Naga history has begun, promising that their storage will become a massive treasury and their territory an impenetrable fortress. The Nagas roar in absolute loyalty as their master promises them a future of true power, forged entirely by their own hands. Many days after the battle with the horned rats, the Naga workers feast on the corpses and scavenge the weapons, temporarily lowering the labyrinth's maintenance costs. With morale high, Jinwoo sends a crew of workers with an escort to harvest down gems and plants from the caves. He wants to establish hunting grounds and patrols, but he's completely out of the down gems needed for summoning, wondering if he can sell the horned rat horns to make up for it. Back in the human world, Jinwoo meets with a broker to sell the loot, learning that everything from the dungeon is highly valuable, but when he asks to buy down gems, the broker admits he's completely out of stock. As the broker prepares to wire his payment and call it a day, Jinwoo suddenly asks about the Hellspider hunting job they discussed previously. The broker is surprised, reminding Jinwoo that he literally broke a desk last time because he refused to go, but Jinwoo admits he desperately needs the money and gems. The broker agrees to put him on the main squad, but when he asked for Jinwoo's level for the background check, our hero blankly states he doesn't have one. He was simply born and raised on the 12th floor. The broker nearly falls out of his chair, realizing he is looking at Korea's highest level dungeon baby, while Jinwoo is just confused about why a number is such a big deal. Jinwoo admits he hasn't been back since he escaped the labyrinth and knows absolutely nothing about how the outside world measures strength, forcing the exhausted broker to explain the system. He explains that a dungeon baby's level matches the floor they were born on, meaning Jinwoo is a staggering level 12. Levels 1 through 3 are just slightly stronger than a normal man and stick to exploration. Levels 4 through 6 have super soldier strength for assault squads, and 7 through 9 are pure monster territory, but anything past level 10 is considered the deep floors, a cosmic horror zone untouched since the Great War. Because so few people survive the deeper floors, there's almost no information on them. But it's known that they possess terrifying special powers in strength and speed. When the broker nervously asks if Jinwoo has any special skills like laser eyes, Jinwoo stares him down and states that with his current physical stats, if he wanted to kill the man with his bare hands, the broker's entire body would be a weak point. Terrified, the broker drops the subject, and Jinwoo demands he lower his registered level on the application, perfectly fine with taking a pay cut to stay under the radar. The broker agrees to forge his dungeon baby card and lend him some gear, asking Jinwoo to hand over his ID card and a picture to finalize the paperwork. But when Jinwoo innocently asks what an ID card is, the broker realizes he's dealing with someone completely detached from modern society. Back in the labyrinth, Jinwoo dramatically praises his 3 mining workers, declaring that they will be remembered as absolute legends. Dominique just stares at him in utter confusion, wondering what on earth her master is doing. Back in the labyrinth, Jinwoo's workers report a successful harvest, pulling a small haul of down gems from nearby plants and butchered beasts. He immediately converts the entire batch into labyrinth energy, knowing he needs to invest everything into his new domain without hesitation. But passive mining is just too slow for his ambitions. He tells Dominique he will be leaving the labyrinth for 2 weeks to join a Hellspider subjugation, aiming to farm the massive down gems they carry. Before heading out, he burns his remaining energy to summon a normal grade Naga archer, ordering it to guard the gate alongside his Naga soldier. With his resources completely drained, he leaves Dominique in charge of the base. Arriving at the Paju Geyser Gate, Jinwoo joins a massive crowd of soldiers for the final briefing. Commander Lee Junyoung takes the stage, announcing a 22-man expedition to wipe out the Hell Spiders invading the 2nd floor, splitting the squad into 15 normal explorers and a 7-man elite assault team. The assault team lines up by rank, their levels stamped right on their arms ranging from 0 all the way to an impressive level 8. With the briefing over, Gate B finally opens. The expedition marches into the dark, pushing forward quickly to catch up with the vanguard while praying they make it out alive. But the dungeon does not wait. Screams instantly rip through the cavern as a massive whip-tailed lizard ambushes the squad, grabbing a man in its jaws while thrashing its deadly tail. The veterans scream tactical orders to aim for the beast's armpits, though others just complain that this low-tier monster will not even pay out decent money. The quality of explorers has plummeted in the 10 years since the war, leaving only desperate recruits who would rather face monsters down here than debt collectors up top. Suddenly, a level 7 mercenary hired by the boss leaps into the fray, slashing his sword straight for the monster's wounds. But the beast is too strong, and the mercenary is instantly crushed. Watching the massacre unfold, Jinwoo calmly notes that the man is already dead. As the team quickly gathers the dropped gems and sprays deodorizer to mask the scent of blood, one of the veterans praises Jinwoo's combat skills. He admits the old man was right to recommend him, noting that the skin of a whip-tailed lizard is notoriously tough to pierce. But the team leader isn't as impressed, sternly warning our hero to stick to the orders instead of showing off. She reminds him that normal explorers will soon face fights they can't handle, and wasting his energy now could leave them dangerously short on manpower later. Jinwoo casually brushes off the concern, explaining he only moved so fast because his body was freezing in the damp cavern. Just then, a subordinate reports that they are only about an hour away from the save point. The brutal reality of the labyrinth sets in when the team casually debates leaving a dead explorer's corpse behind to lure away blood-seeking beasts. Watching them, Jinwoo notes the sickening double standard nobody bats an eye when normal explorers die like dogs. He knows the reaction would be completely different if a privileged dungeon baby had died, but he keeps his thoughts to himself. A week later, the Geyser Assault Squad finally arrives at the entrance to the second floor. The frontline troops report minimal damage after easily clearing out more whip-tailed lizards, and the squad eagerly starts hoarding the scattered down gems. But tensions flare when they calculate their cut, realizing the small gems will only net them a pathetic 200 per person. The mood instantly shifts when they remember their real targets. The hell spiders on this floor drop fist-sized intermediate-grade gems worth thousands each. The promise of a massive payday makes the terrifying workload suddenly seem worth the risk. But deeper in the dark cavern, the patrol team runs into a bizarre and terrifying problem. Zhang Tai urgently reports to his boss that the tracks of the starting squad have suddenly turned into a chaotic mess, spreading everywhere as if a massive battle took place. Suddenly, gems start falling from the ceiling, but as the soldiers reach for them, an unseen force paralyzes their bodies in midair. Panic sets in as they look up and realize a massive beast is descending on them from the sky. The boss screams for everyone to prepare for battle and desperately orders Zhang Tai to fire the flares. A blinding red beam shoots up into the pitch-black cavern, illuminating the nightmare above. The light reveals a horrifying demonic entity lurking in the shadows, leaving the squad completely paralyzed with terror. They realize with sickening dread that the scattered tracks weren't from a battle, they were the aftermath of an absolute massacre. Knowing they are completely outmatched, the boss screams for an immediate retreat, but the monster is already upon them. As a shadowy creature lunges at a soldier named Jun Young, a warrior steps up to brace for a desperate clash against the demonic force. Total chaos erupts as orders ring out to send the dungeon babies to the front lines, while the normal explorers scramble back to the bunker. The soldiers dive behind barricades, locking their weapons as the massive spider-like monsters swarm their position. But the nightmare is just beginning as the flares start dying out, threatening to plunge the cavern back into total darkness. Desperate to keep their light source alive, the fighters form a tight shield wall and brace for a brutal fight for survival in the dark. Deep in the cavern, the shadows twist into the grotesque shapes of hell spiders. The soldiers immediately lock their shields, bracing for the monstrous onslaught. A terrifying entity with glowing red eyes materializes right behind one of the young fighters, but instead of panicking, the boy just flashes a sinister grin and lunges forward with his weapon. The colossal awakens crash down on the shield wall, their spindly legs tearing into the formation. A warrior steps up, gripping his massive weapon, and brings it down with a bone-shattering impact to hold the line. Someone barks an order for Yunghao to toss his explosive, just as a grotesque human arm bursts from the body of one of the spiders. Grinning like a maniac, a suited fighter launches himself into the air, grappling the beast as purple rocks rain down around them. The warrior slashes through a pulsating red egg sac, triggering a massive explosion. A massive glowing fist descends from the darkness, smashing into the cavern floor. An observer notes that Youngo's cleanup technique is incredibly clumsy. Right as the boy takes a painful hit, the shattered ground glows with erratic energy as more hell spiders scuttle out of the abyss. Facing down a towering red monster, one of the fighters just scoffs in annoyance. A muscular warrior lets out a guttural scream, throwing himself at the spiky arachnid. He violently overpowers the beast, pinning it down in a brutal display of strength. The rest of the soldiers hold their ground against a shadowy leviathan looming in the cave. Jinwoo grips his sword, his purple eyes narrowing as sharp, intersecting strikes cut through the darkness. After a flurry of devastating slashes, one fighter complains that the others were taking way too long, forcing him to step in. His partner argues back, questioning why they would ever waste their full power on mere hell spiders, but the banter is cut short when another wave approaches and the squad is ordered to brace themselves. A horrifying insectoid monster suddenly speaks, bizarrely insisting that it and its swarm are just normal humans. The fighters plunge back into the chaotic fray, desperate to hold off the multi-limbed horrors. They know the dungeon babies have to step up, clashing swords with the monsters in a blindingly fast melee. One warrior's rage finally boils over, and he unleashes a terrifying aura that leaves the others frozen in shock. Watching the absolute carnage, a fighter with a massive weapon stares in disbelief, stunned to realize this monstrous attacker is only level 7. With the immediate threat seemingly neutralized, the squad leader orders the uninjured members to capture the remaining spiders. The team brushes off the fight as a mere warm-up, but Jinwoo finds it strange, knowing that true hell spiders are legendary beasts from the deeper floors. The others laugh, bragging that these bugs felt even weaker than the lizards they fought earlier, relieved they didn't have to waste their explosives. But Jinwoo kneels by a carcass and shatters their confidence, revealing that these creatures lack exoskeletons and are nothing more than an inferior subspecies. Realizing that real spiders are careful hunters that wait for prey to fall into their traps, the team suddenly notices thick, sticky webs covering the cavern webs that definitely weren't there before. Sensing a suffocating murderous intent, Junhwa urgently orders the team to rig the blocked entrance with their unused explosives. The younger recruits are confused by his urgency, joking that this feels like a comic book cliché where the real boss hides until the end. But Jinwoo doesn't laugh, grimly confirming that the true hell spider is lurking right beside them. Still too arrogant for their own good, the squad dismisses his warning, figuring they can just kill whatever comes out next. But their arrogance is shattered by a deafening roar, as a colossal shadowy demon with glowing red eyes emerges from the dark, furious that microscopic bugs dared to invade its territory. Panic erupts as the true hell spider strikes with blinding speed, instantly impaling one of the arrogant squad members and turning their easy victory into a slaughter. A monstrous entity with glowing red eyes emerges from the shadows, opening its massive fanged maw. Panic erupts as the explorers realize they are completely surrounded, and one of the men screams for everyone to drop what they're doing and gather. They urgently warn Jinwoo that the swarm of hell spiders is closing in, trying to snap him out of his daze. Nearby, a spider pounces on a fallen explorer who desperately begs for his life as the creature prepares to feast. A companion frantically checks on Jinwoo, and our hero finally snaps back to reality with a quick apology. Jinwoo notes that they are facing 2 hell spider babies and 1 queen, ordering the team to use all their explosives to blow an exit because the spider threads are far too resilient to cut. Hearing this precise tactical breakdown, his companion realizes Jinwoo has extensive experience dealing with these deep floor beasts. As the brutal battle rages on, a fighter demands to know where the advance party dungeon babies are, only to be grimly shown the cocooned bodies hanging above them, already preserved as meals for the swarm. With time running out, they frantically wait for the bombs to be prepped. The one hothead questions why they are running from their expedition's main target in the first place. He's reminded that a careless explorer just got eaten, but as the massive hell spiders charge, the hothead declares this is exactly the fight he's been waiting for. Ignoring screams that he's going to get himself killed, the muscular fighter lunges straight at the giant spider. He unleashes a fierce punch, but the colossal beast simply shrugs off the blow and strikes back with overwhelming force. The man screams in agony as the spider crushes him, realizing too late that the monster's shell is impossibly hard. The rest of the group watches in absolute shock as a sudden fiery explosion blasts through the cavern. Before they can even process the loss, the terrified survivors realize another massive threat is already bearing down on them. Jinwoo lunges at the colossal monster, unleashing a relentless barrage of strikes to keep it off balance, but the shadowy creature roars back, its sheer presence and power leaving Jinwoo's companions paralyzed with shock. As a blinding burst of energy erupts from the darkness, our hero braces himself against the overwhelming force. Watching him hold his ground against a demon, one of the explorers panics, wondering if Jinwoo is a monster himself, before the others scream at him to snap out of it and fall back. Jinwoo readies his blade, holding up a massive falling chunk of debris to shield the squad's retreat. He fiercely drives back the multi-eyed beasts, panting heavily from the sheer physical toll of the chaotic fight. But he knows this is no time to hold back. Gripping his sword tighter as he advances deeper into the shadows, confronting 2 gigantic hell spiders, Jinwoo realizes that taking this lightly will get him killed. So he decides it's finally time to unleash his electricity. A blazing symbol manifests as immense radiant energy erupts around him, lighting up the cavern and clashing directly against the dark entity. Back with the squad, the explorers frantically confirm the explosives are rigged and immediately detonate them to blast an escape route. As Jinwoo continues his glowing assault, his team screams out that the exit is clear and urges him to hurry. But the shadowy enemy's power flares up again, forcing Jinwoo to unleash another massive wave of energy just to keep the creature at bay. A fierce explosion rocks the cavern as the companions scramble to carry their injured teammate Yoonju towards safety. Realizing that outrunning the hell spiders is impossible, Jinwoo orders the rest of the squad to go on ahead without him. He promises to meet them outside, and as a rock slide seals the cavern behind them, the remaining squad members finally reach the desolate surface. Now completely alone in the dark, Jinwoo glares at the monstrous spiders and angrily asks if they think this is funny. He mocks the terrifying demons, claiming he just wanted to get rid of the dead weight, and readies his weapon for the real fun to begin. Jinwoo sets his grand plan into motion, stepping through the newly opened gate. He locks his sights on the Hell Spider Queen, who commands her brood from a high throne flanked by massive guards. Taking charge, Jinwoo boldly volunteers to fight one of the monstrous hell spiders himself. He orders his 2 Naga warriors to handle the other beast, instructing the rest of his forces to fall into formation. He realizes the colossal matriarch is the only real threat, but she is currently trapped by the narrow confines of the 2nd floor. Knowing the cave would collapse if she forced her way through, Jinwoo commands his troops to make quick work of the younger spiders first. As the red-eyed beasts close in, Jinwoo warns Dominique to stay safely inside the gate. He reassures his troops that these monsters are hardly better than horned rats, ruthlessly ordering his men to annihilate every last one of them. The cavern erupts into total chaos. Jinwoo channels his aura, planting his boots firmly into the cracked earth as he clashes head-on with the terrifying swarm. He pushes his limits, delivering a devastating strike that completely shatters one of the imposing skull demons into pieces. Meanwhile, his Naga archers take aim from the shadows. They unleash a relentless barrage of glowing energy arrows, striking the insectoid beast with pinpoint accuracy. The cavern trembles as more spiders burst from the shattered rocks. But Jinwoo's forces hold their ground, standing tall against the echoing impacts. The Naga warriors lock weapons with the remaining beast in a brutal, close-quarters struggle. They match the towering monsters blow for blow in the dark. Watching the carnage unfold, Jinwoo is genuinely impressed. He notes that his archers are hitting as hard as cannons, while the Naga soldiers flawlessly protect the backline. He mocks the remaining spiders, boasting that they barely managed to scratch him. But his confidence is cut short when Dominique suddenly screams out a horrifying warning: the Hell Spider Queen has started to move. Shocked, Jinwoo braces himself as the colossal, red-eyed matriarch tears through the smoke, ready to crush everything in her path. The colossal monster unleashes a terrifying roar, its gaping maw and glowing red eyes locking onto Jinwoo. A sudden alert confirms that his sheer combat force has cancelled the Hell Spider's fear ailment, prompting Jinwoo to instantly check on his Naga units. The battle is taking a brutal toll. A Naga soldier falls dead and a Naga warrior takes a mortal wound, though Dominique and the archers manage to resist the status effects. As inferior monsters swarm the area, the giant entity erupts from the abyss, forcing our hero to launch a desperate counterattack. Jinwoo drives a blazing energy blade straight into the creature's face, but the monster just flares its terrifying power. He desperately shouts for Dominique, and his loyal Naga maid responds with a dire warning that the gate is in critical danger. With the area completely overrun by inferior spiders, Jinwoo orders her to hold the line while he handles the main threat. The shadowy beast makes it clear that it considers him prey, forcing Jinwoo to brace against a storm of dark energy. Furious, he curses the monster and retaliates with a devastating glowing punch that shatters the ground. He realizes the giant creature has turned its back on the gate to focus entirely on him, meaning he can't just run past it if this thing goes wild. Everyone is dead. Gripping his glowing weapon tight, Jinwoo prepares to risk it all to bring the behemoth down. He charges head-on into the dark abyss, clashing violently with the multi-eyed horror. A massive, mechanical-looking monstrosity emerges from the shadows, and Jinwoo unloads every ounce of his power into the skeletal beast. Staring down the terrifying creature, Jinwoo finally pieces together why it's so much stronger than he remembered. It has been hoarding a highly valuable glowing core. Knowing exactly what he needs to claim, he launches a fierce barrage of red energy straight at the shadowy monster. Jinwoo channels fierce energy, unleashing a devastating explosive strike against the darkness. As the blast shatters the area, he offers a good quality intermediate down jam to the altar. Facing down a massive demonic entity, our hero screams out a summon for a magician to take down the remaining spiders. Activating the weak mystery of Geyser, he successfully summons a rare plus rank Naga magician and immediately orders the attack. The masked magician gathers immense magical energy, preparing a massive spell as the monstrous red-eyed creature emerges from the shadows. The magical blast obliterates the smaller enemies, leaving a battered but determined Jinwoo gripping his weapon tightly. However, the colossal beast is far from dead, revealing its terrifying face and letting out a guttural roar. Jinwoo realizes the magic prioritized a wide area of effect over raw force, leaving the main hell spiders perfectly fine. The armored Naga warriors charge in with glowing blue blades, clashing with the monstrous spiders while the magician casts again. The warriors finally finish off the last of the hell spiders, leaving Jinwoo to figure out how to deal with the colossal boss monster. He notes its weak points are its eyes, mouth, and leg joints, but the beast is so massive that haphazardly stabbing its eyes won't even reach its brain. As he readies his weapon, his loyal advisor frantically warns him that the surrounding area is heavily damaged, prompting him to put the Naga on standby. Knowing he lacks the attack power to kill the boss, Jinwoo decides on a wild plan to attack the ceiling and dig their way out to the first floor, insisting it's the only way. The monster shrieks, as Jinwoo stands his ground on a desolate rocky peak, drawing its full attention. Seeing the beast follow him, he grins manically, swearing to repay the creature for ruining half his life. Down below, Jinwoo's loyal Naga servants watch the chaos unfold in complete confusion. Seeing the massive tremors, they wonder if their master's trying to bury the colossal beast alive before realizing he's actually digging his way up. As Jinwoo fights desperately on his own, his attendants feel a crushing sense of helplessness. Even the Naga soldiers meant to protect him are forced to stand back and watch the terrifying spectacle. The sheer scale of the battle makes them question their very existence. They realize their attack power is nowhere near enough to help their master, but the older servants quickly rally the troops, reminding them that they haven't been cast aside for being useless. They know Jinwoo always throws himself into danger first, just to keep his people safe. Recognizing that only their master can handle a threat of this magnitude, the Naga warriors accept their standby orders, waiting for the perfect moment to strike. Meanwhile, one of the commanders turns to the rare Naga magician, checking how much mana he has left as Jinwoo continues to clash violently with the giant monster above. The beast unleashes devastating beams of energy and Jinwoo grits his teeth in frustration. Guiding this massive creature upward wouldn't be so difficult if the labyrinth walls weren't constantly getting in his way. Higher up in the dungeon, an exploration team suddenly feels violent tremors shaking the ground beneath their feet. They panic, knowing full well that raid-class beasts have no business being on the upper floors. Sensing imminent danger, the explorers decide to evacuate immediately, but before they can escape, the cavern floor completely fractures beneath them, and a terrifying entity emerges from the darkness. Jinwoo violently crashes through the rock, ripping open a brand new entryway between the first and second floors. Realizing the labyrinth's layout has just shifted, he urgently orders the area to be sealed. Spotting the terrified humans, Jinwoo shouts at the exploration team to run for their lives and never look back. Just seconds later, the horrifying hell spider bursts through the smoke, screeching for blood. Now that he's lured the beast exactly where he wants it, Jinwoo urgently signals for his Naga magician to unleash his spell. The magician channels his remaining mana, launching a blast of magic from the lower floor. As the icy energy strikes the red-eyed monster, Jinwoo notices the attack is surprisingly weak. But the weakened ice spell is actually a stroke of genius. Expecting a lethal blow, the hell spider flinches in confusion, giving the ice just enough time to freeze over the entire tunnel and trap the furious beast in its tracks. Jinwoo's trap works perfectly, and he praises Dominique for catching on to his plans so quickly. The ice shatters under the spider's massive weight, sending it plummeting into the depths. Though Jinwoo knows a fall won't be enough to kill a beast this tough, he realizes that fancy tricks and traps aren't what he needs as a labyrinth owner. What he truly needs is pure, raw attack power to deliver a single, decisive blow. Refusing to let the beasts escape, Jinwoo orders his forces to hit them with everything they have. Following his command, his red Naga warrior unleashes a brutal lightning strike against the dark monster. The monstrous units roar out Jinwoo's will, moving in to finish the job as he swings his staff with devastating force. A massive blast of purple energy shatters the entire cavern. The sheer force of the attack obliterates the crystalline landscape, crushing the enemy beneath the rubble. Sensing blood in the water, Jinwoo lunges forward through the chaos, commanding his forces to deliver the final, lethal strike. The system confirms his heroic victory against the adult Hellspider, and his charisma skyrockets. He instantly advances from a beginner commander to a normal commander, bumping his ally combat buff to a solid 10%. With the Spider Duke's army officially wiped out, the Labyrinth's fame rises. Even better, his surviving units gain a massive chunk of experience and evolve right before his eyes, transforming into heavy armored beasts. Jinwoo is blown away by their new forms, though he notices the Naga magician hasn't changed at all, despite hard carrying the fight. Dominique explains that mages need a laboratory to level up, which they can't build until the labyrinth hits level 4. To hit that milestone, Jinwoo needs 50 down gems, so he checks the loot and hits the jackpot. He scores 6 good quality intermediate gems from the bosses, plus 44 low-grade gems from the mobs, making the loss of 1 soldier well worth the payout. He immediately sacrifices 2 intermediate gems to the altar, securing enough energy to trigger the labyrinth's upgrade, which will take exactly 120 hours. He packs a few low-grade gems into a sack so he doesn't look suspicious returning home empty-handed. But before he heads out, Jinwoo orders the Nagas to secure the perimeter. The massive battle is bound to attract other beasts and explorers, so they need to harvest the spider corpses and use magic to seal the nearby entrances. When he sees that the mage is practically out of mana, he quickly pivots his strategy. He orders the rest of the units to physically hide the gate with boulders to keep their base completely hidden. Dominique asks if he's leaving immediately, and Jinwoo confirms he is. He promises to return in exactly 5 days when the upgrade finishes, leaving them with just enough food to hold down the fort. Jinwoo praises Dominique for stepping up when their plan fell apart. He promises the rest of his monstrous crew a hefty reward for their hard work, dismissing them for 5 days while he heads back to the surface. 5 days later, he steps out of the Pajubi gate. The expedition team is absolutely stunned to see him alive, completely losing their minds that he finished a 2-week survival run in just 5 days. But our hero just casually offers them a bowl of soup. When they press him on how he survived the deep floors, Jinwoo plays dumb. He claims he just got incredibly lucky and managed to run away, leaving the team utterly speechless. One of the survivors swears to fulfill any wish as thanks for saving his life, but Jinwoo just hands him his empty bowl. He calls them even and heads home, eager for some well-deserved rest. Of course, Jinwoo is hiding the real prize he kept, all 12 massive down gems from the Hell Spiders, for himself. He takes his haul straight to his black market dealer, Mr. Beck, cashing out a staggering 400 million won. But Jinwoo doesn't just want cash. He drops 300 million on the table and orders Beck to buy him a secluded house. When the dealer protests that he isn't a real estate agent, Jinwoo casually threatens to take his business elsewhere, instantly shutting the old man up. To make things even better, he forces Beck to get on the phone with his dad. The old man has to sweat through a fake call pretending to be Jinwoo's boss at a totally normal, non-lethal jewelry shop to give him the perfect cover story for entering Geyser. Back in the safety of his underground domain, Dominique welcomes him home. Jinwoo knows he can't keep locking his bedroom door to open magical portals, making the new secluded house an absolute necessity. His family had already been nagging him about disappearing for 20 days at a time. Dominique notices his exhaustion, but he waves it off, asking about the labyrinth's recent upgrade. The Naga maid reveals the upgrade is complete, unlocking new buildings and units, though the exterior won't actually change until they hit the 5th level. With his pockets full of down gems, Jinwoo is ready to start a massive expansion, but his plans are instantly put on hold. Dominique suddenly warns him that they have a guest waiting at the entrance, revealing that a legendary party roams through all the labyrinths, and their power is terrifying enough to wipe out every floor in Geyser. The black merchant formally greets Jinwoo, eager to do business with the new king of the labyrinth. The creature claims he heard rumors about Jinwoo imprisoning the hell spiders, but Dominique quickly warns our hero that this is a lie. The black market watches everything that happens in Geyser. She advises Jinwoo not to let himself be underestimated by this guy. The merchant just laughs off the tension, admitting he is really just here to make some sales. Jinwoo considers just kicking the intruder out, but Dominique explains they have no choice. If they anger a black merchant, he will spread their secrets all over the underground, so Jinwoo decides to play along and do some shopping. Dominique whispers one last piece of advice. Buy the very first item the merchant recommends. Taking her word for it, Jinwoo asks the creature to show him his best wares. The merchant pulls out a rare vial containing a parasite, smugly pricing it at one high-rank down gem, and doubting Jinwoo can even afford it. Unfazed, Jinwoo pulls out a pristine purple down gem and asks what it is worth. The merchant's eyes light up and he immediately trades 5 of the rare parasites for it. Dominique confirms that merchants always offer their most precious artifact first, but warns that the parasite is useless unless he actually takes it into his body. Since her advice has not failed him yet, Jinwoo prepares to swallow it. He realizes that with every step he is getting further away from being human, though he never felt close to being one anyway. As the parasite invades his body and begins synchronization, Jinwoo brushes off the strange sensation and pivots to his next goal. With Dominique's help, he finally initiates the Labyrinth upgrade. The domain advances to rank 4, unlocking new facilities and military forces, while its total durability skyrockets to over 5,000. Dominique points out how unusual his rapid growth is. Most owners build their interiors first, but since Jinwoo already commands over 90% of his military force, he doesn't have to waste energy summoning an army from scratch. He wonders if other Labyrinth owners are just weak, but his loyal advisor explains they simply prefer to stay hidden inside. With that cleared up, Jinwoo shifts his focus to his new construction list to upgrade the interior. The options are massive. He can build a cattle farm for 20 energy to grow food for his hardworking Nagas, or a training center for 30, where a senior Naga can instruct his troops. There's even an option to attract neutral creatures for information and alliances. Facilities like a blacksmithy, laboratory, and temple would maximize their physical, magical, and healing abilities, but they cost 50 energy each. Pulling up the Labyrinth map, he realizes he needs to prioritize. Since the advanced buildings drain too much energy, our hero decides to focus on beefing up his military first. He orders his minions to gather all of his low-rank down gems and marches straight to the altar. Sacrificing 30 good-quality gems, he cashes in a massive bounty of 150 currency. With a wide grin, Jinwoo dramatically declares it is time to summon a brand new defense force. A whole week flies by, and the Labyrinth undergoes a massive transformation. The Naga nest expansion is complete. They've successfully captured giant rabbits and black bears to stock the new cattle farm, and the idle workers are put to work digging deadly hallway traps. His domain finally feels like a proper labyrinth, but the upkeep is bleeding him dry. Maintaining his Naga soldiers, warriors, and special units costs so many down gems that he finally understands why the Duke Spider was so obsessed with starting wars. Realizing they have to dive deeper for more gems, Jinwoo prepares for another run. Dominique notices he's been spending way too much time in the labyrinth recently and asks about his family, but he casually reveals he moved out 4 days ago to live completely alone on an isolated mountain ridge. He promises to show her the surface world someday, which instantly lights up her face. But right now, the portal is about to close, and Jinwoo realizes he's been grinding for 24 hours straight. He tells Dominique to get some sleep and finally steps back into the real world. Exhausted and starving in his empty new house, he mutters about needing to bring a generator into the dungeon just so he can boil some ramen. But before he can even relax, a terrifying alert rings out. The mysterious parasite he absorbed has finally finished synchronizing with his body, and it immediately attempts to dominate its host. Jinwoo freezes in absolute shock at the word dominate. Suddenly, an unbearable agony rips through his skull and he collapses to the floor, screaming that his eye feels like it's burning alive. As he clutches his face, the pain peaks, and when he finally looks up, his eye glows with a menacing, demonic red light. The Labyrinth owner has just unlocked a terrifying new power.